Hi guys, Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, May 21st, and I am back for my stitching update. It has been 4 weeks since my last Flosstube video, so I hope you have all been well and you've been stitching and creating and making all of the things. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast about cross-stitching and quilting. However, if you are not interested in seeing or hearing about the quilts, I show those later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they'll be making their appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? It has been 4 weeks since my last Flosstube video, and I did not intend to be away so long, but sometimes life has a way of turning on a dime when you least expect it. I did put out a video 2 weeks ago explaining my absence, and I do want to say a great big thank you to everybody who left a comment. Thank you so much for your prayers and your thoughts and your best wishes. It was so, I can't even tell you how appreciated it was. It was so unexpected because I was just feeling bad that I wasn't going to be able to do a video, but there would have been no way because I had absolutely no stitching to show. And I just wanted to, let all of my subscribers know that the reason why I was not going to be able to do a Flosstube video. So thank you so much. My husband did read through all of the comments, and he was so surprised. And he asked me if I knew if I knew how kind all of my subscribers are, and I told him yes, that I have the very best subscribers of anybody. And so all of the comments that you guys left, we just appreciated it so much. And also if the comments that were left on Instagram and Facebook and emails and all the different ways that you knew how to reach me, thank you so much. We were just very overwhelmed by your kindness and just everything. So thank you so much. He is doing a lot better. It is going to be kind of a slow, healing, but every day he gets a little bit better and a little bit stronger. If you are not sure what it is that I am referring to, I will go ahead and just kind of briefly talk about what happened. If that's not something that you're interested in hearing, I will flash the timestamp where you can fast forward to then get into the stitching. But I do kind of want to explain a little bit about what happened. So right after my last video, that Monday, Brian took himself off to the emergency room because he was not feeling well. He was running a little bit of a fever and he had pains in his side. And it was the same side where he had had his appendix taken out back in July. So we knew it wasn't the appendix, and originally we had thought perhaps it was a pulled muscle because we had been working out in the flower beds. But then as the weekend kind of progressed, it just became very uncomfortable and he was very bloated, and then he started running a fever. So on Monday morning, bright and early, he took himself off to the emergency room. And I don't know how it is in your state, but here in ours, they don't really like you to have anybody with you. So even if I had been able to be with him in the emergency room, once he went into the, to the area where they can, look at him and all of that, I wouldn't have been able to go. I would have had to go sit out in the car. So he just took himself off to the emergency room thinking that, he just had some inflammation and infection, and he would just get some antibiotics and then go see his regular doctor. Well, that's not what happened. So he got into the emergency room, and after a very long day, they discovered that it was his gallbladder. What they didn't realize as the day went on is that his gallbladder had actually ruptured. It was extremely painful. If you're not sure what the function the gallbladder does, it actually, when it ruptures, it's your stomach acid that goes like all across your internal organs, and you go into septic shock. And that's exactly what happened to him. He very late in the day, he went in and had surgery, and he had about a 30% chance of making it through the surgery. The at one point during the operation, they had 7 doctors working to like clean him out. Not only did they have to remove the gallbladder, which part of it had to be left behind just because the damage, but that all of the organs, everything was covered in stomach bile, and it's not, it's not good. So his surgery lasted a little bit longer than it normally would have. He came through it like a trooper. He did call before the surgery to tell me goodbye. He has no memory of that. I do. It's burned into my eardrums. But he made it through okay. Or not okay, he made it through really, really well. A lot better than they expected. And I really, really believe it's because he used to be a smoker, and he quit smoking. It'll be 4 years ago this November. And when he was a smoker, his health wasn't that good. And when he did decide to quit smoking, he also decided to take better care of himself. And I honestly think it's because of him taking better care of himself that his body was able to sort of, it had this happen to him, but it was able to begin healing. And he did meet with several of the doctors who worked on him, and they all said that he looked really great considering all of the trauma his body had been through. And it was because he had taken care of himself that his body was, once the surgery was over and once they had removed all of, everything causing the problem, his body had begun to heal itself. He did have a drain that was in his side that he wore the entire time he was in the hospital. He was in the hospital for a week. And then he came home 1 week to the day of him going into the hospital. So we've been home now 3 weeks. He is doing good. He did have a little bit of a setback about a week after he came home, and that is that underneath his staples, it was collecting fluid, and so he had to go in and they had to open it up a little bit. So he actually has a hole in his stomach where it is draining, and they said they will leave it open because it will heal from the inside out. And I know, and in the beginning it really bummed him out, to have it there, because he was, starting to feel better, and then now he has this other issue he has to deal with. But it's only a temporary setback, and as long as he stays healthy and his body continues to heal and do what it's going to do, then 6 months from now this will just be a distant memory. But he is doing a lot better. He gets up a little bit more now. He is crazy bored, and I feel really bad. But there's not a whole lot he can do. He can't really, even to go out, it would just have to be like a very short, visit wherever, because he does get tired easily. But he's doing really, really good. And we both believe that honestly was the massive amount of prayers that were said on his behalf. But yeah, so I just want to say thank you so much again for everybody who has been praying for him and thinking of him, and we just really appreciate it so much. So I had to pause a whole bunch of times while I was talking about what had happened. I wasn't expecting that I was going to get so emotional. Because I've been talking to a lot of people about what has happened and on the phone, and I didn't get, I was fine, and then I get on here and I start talking about it, and nobody wants to see me blubber. So anyway, but I just want to say thank you. I know I did earlier, but I do really I appreciate all of the wonderful comments that you guys left, and thank you again so very much. But now, how about we talk about some cross stitching? So I'm not sure how long this video will be, because I am actually filming it very early, and I've had to reshoot the first part of the video a couple of times, so I don't know if I've already mentioned that, I'm shooting the video, it's 10:30, 10:45 now. I don't have 4 weeks of progress to show you. I have maybe 2.5. I definitely have 2, but I might have 2.5 weeks of progress to show. I did attempt to stitch while Brian was in the hospital, but it didn't go so well. And I actually ended up having to just forget about it and I'm really jealous of people who can stitch while they're extremely stressed or like emotional or just, because I know, cross stitching it's there, like any craft is therapy. But I attempted it and I could not, my brain was like, you want me to stress, stitch, and count all at the same time? No, let's just pick one. So I eventually gave up. I also took cross stitching with me when I went to go be with him at the hospital. And I carried my stitching. I have this big bag, this tote bag, and so I had a book, I had magazines, and then I had cross stitching in there. And I didn't even like attempt to pick it up or anything while I was with him in the hospital. And then when I was unpacking my bag after he had come home, I went to go take out because it was my morning stitch I had taken with me, and I took it out and I was looking at it and I realized that the whole week that I had packed it back and forth from home to the hospital, that I did not have the needle. The needle was at home up above my sewing machine, because there's a little, where I sew, there's a little ledge, and I usually put my needle minders up there when I'm filming my videos. And since I had just filmed a video on Friday, the needle minder for that particular project was still up on the ledge, and I never grabbed it and put it away. Because right after I did my last video, I was going to go outside, or I went outside to work in my flower beds. And so all I did was I put everything back in its project bags, but I didn't put any of the needle minders with it. So all of the needle minders for all of my projects were all up on the ledge. And I thought the whole week I had carried that thing back and forth, and how disappointed would I have been if I had got there and thought, I am going to stitch, and then my needle is at home. And the little vial of my extra needles that should have been in my purse were in my other purse. So it wouldn't have worked anyway. But I do have some progress to show. The only thing I'm not going to show you today is Autumn at Hawkhorn Hollow. That one I did not end up working on at all. I think originally, because I have the Needleworker's Notebook, and originally it was supposed to be something I was supposed to work on, but I didn't, and I really didn't follow anything of a rotation or anything like that until this past week. So everything that I worked on, I just kind of worked on it because I felt like it, and then I would work on it for a day, I'd work on it for a couple of days, and then I would move on to something else. So I think last time I showed that I was getting ready to start Stacy Nash Primitives Cherry Hollow Farms. This was one that was one of my unicorn charts, and then Stacy Nash re-released it, put it in her Etsy shop, so I bought the PDF download. I did start this and worked on it during a 3-day rotation sometime over the past 2.5, 3-ish weeks. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count beige linen by Weeks Dye Works, and I'm stitching it 1/2 with the called for Weeks Dye Works threads. And I love it. It is so sweet and delicate, and I cannot wait to get it done. It's going to look great in this room. There is a quilt ladder that's across the room that sometimes I'll put pictures of at the beginning of the video, or maybe on Instagram when I change out the quilts, and there is a spot up above it that will be perfect, and that is where it's going to go. These are the threads, and they're just all very beautiful, very delicate, soft, late spring colors. I love it. Next up is Liberty's Welcome by Plum Street Samplers. I've been stitching this one with Yvette since the beginning of this year. This was our New Year, New Start. And I know that she's patiently waiting for me to catch up, because she'll work ahead, or she'll work on it, and then she'll stop to see where I'm at. And if I'm, slowly stitching away, she'll wait for me. So she's been patiently waiting for me to get back to this and to catch up with her a little bit, and then she'll go ahead and start stitching on it. but here is my progress. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Heartland by Picture This Plus, and I am using the DMC conversion that is printed on the chart. The house, however, is DMC 648 that I have substituted because the original color was not going to show up on this linen, and I'm stitching it 1/2. So I am really enjoying working on this one, and I cannot wait to have this done, hopefully sometime soon. The house does take forever and a day, and once it's finished, I will have to stitch the giant field of grass down below. But I feel like I'm going so slow on this one right now. So I will be working on Liberty's Welcome tonight and then tomorrow night, and then I will switch to something else, which I think it's Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow. I think that's what, I should have brought my book of days and I did not. But I think that's what I'm planning on doing because I have not worked on that one in a month. I mean, not since before I did my last Flosstube video. So this one I know will come back into my rotation. I've kind of popped it back in so it falls in my rotation a little bit more because I really would just like to get it finished before the end of summer. Originally I thought it was going to be July. Originally I thought it was going to be like May, then July, and now I'm just really hoping by the end of summer. That house is giant, giant. These are the DMC colors that I am using. So these are all of the called for DMC that are listed in the chart minus DMC 648, which is what I have substituted for the house. I love it. It's such a beautiful color palette. Next up is Anne Priest 1841 by the Scarlett House. So I started this one back in November on my birthday, and she has fairly recently been in my stitching rotation. Here is my progress. I'm stitching her on a piece of 40 count Caramel by Saraphim Fabrics. And I am stitching it 1/2 with the called for threads. And I love her. She's so beautiful. I love that alphabet. There's just something about it. Just the soft palette, just everything about this is just so fun to work on. I'm just really, really enjoying it. And I look forward to when I can get back to her again. I love her. Love her, love her. And then we have the Reverend Gourdon Squashbottom by Notforgotten Farms. So I'm also stitching this one with Yvette. This is our Wednesday stitch. And here is my progress. So I think the last time I did a video, I was still working on the house. So I was able to finish the house, and I finished the cat on Wednesday night. And I started working a little bit on the border. My plan is by the end of May to have this, so a little bit farther over, and then so this section this way, and the border down here, I want to get it done by the end of May, and then when June and July roll around, then I will work from here over. So hopefully by the end of July I will have this finished. But it's been a lot of fun to work on. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Creek Bed Brown by R&R, I believe. And I am stitching it with the called for DMC threads. And it is 1/2. I love it, love it, love it. So much fun. And then I have been working on In Full Glory by Blackbird Designs. So this was my morning stitch that I started in April. This was the one that I took with me every day to the hospital, and it never came out of the bag. It stayed in the bag, but had I pulled it out, I would have discovered there would have been no needle. So I finished this one last Saturday or Sunday morning, and here it is. So I have to tell you a funny story. So the week that Brian came home from the hospital in the morning, I tried a couple of days to stitch, and it just wasn't working out. And then I think by Wednesday of that first week, I finally felt okay to stitch, right? So I worked on Liberty's Welcome, and then I was working on this in the morning. And on Liberty's Welcome, I completely messed up somehow the porch that's over the front door was off a little bit. I don't even know how that happened. But when I was stitching, I was working on the window of Liberty's Welcome, and instead of stitching the window panes, I just stitched a solid chunk of brown. So on Liberty's Welcome, the windows right there, it's DMC 3371, and you are supposed to, so it's got the 2 shutters, and then it's got the window, which is white, and then inside it's got the same DMC color, the 3371. So instead of putting the window panes in, I just stitched a solid chunk of brown, and didn't realize it until I had got all the way done. And that's when I discovered that the roof was like 1 stitch off. So I took out the window pane, I took it all out, and then I was like, well, what am I gonna do? Because I had this big solid chunk of the house that I had stitched, and I didn't want to have to rip all of that out to go in and rip out the one side. So I just decided to stitch over it. I don't think you can really tell. At least not standing back. I mean, it's going to be up on the wall. So, I mean, if you're standing across the room, you're not going to see my mistake. I'll see my mistake forever. But this particular piece here, so and the last time I showed it, I had this roof done. And then I think I had 1 or 2 of these top windows finished. So I start back to stitching on this in the morning, and I went all the way across with a solid chunk of red. I never put anything in for the windows, for the door. I just was stitching back and forth and back and forth. And I started coming up here, and I was filling this part in, and I thought, that doesn't look right. That doesn't look right. So I looked at the chart, and I had, of course, left the windows off. And then it's like, what am I gonna do? Like, do I just stitch over the top of it? So I ended up having to rip the whole bottom part off and redo it. And then after I did that, then the next day I start stitching again in the morning, and so I had the window here, and then I came over and I just, once again, I filled in the whole entire door, so there was no door. And I almost left it. I almost thought, nobody's gonna notice this. I could just backstitch something. But I went ahead and ripped it out, and I put in the door. So it was just one mistake after another. On Liberty's Welcome, on this one, I just kept messing up. I mean, it was like every time I threw in 10 stitches, I had to rip all 10 of them out. And that's just, it was very frustrating. But this, finally I finished, and I absolutely love it. I did make another mistake on it, and that is when, because I've been working on a lot of 36 count projects. So when I started stitching this, you're supposed to stitch it 2 over 2 on 28 count. So I bought a piece of, or it's 30 count. So I bought a piece of 30 count sunflower seed from 123 Stitch. And I bought the called for threads, and I started stitching it, and I did the border 2 over 2. Got the border all the way down on the first day, and then the second day I come in and I start stitching the flag, and I ended up stitching 1 over 2. And I didn't catch it until I got all the way down here, and I did the flag, the eagle, and then I was starting on the house, and I realized my mistake. So some of it stitched 1 over 2, and some of it stitched 2 over 2 with the called for threads. I think it looks okay. I mean, I think it looks fine. So my plan is to finish it into a little pillow, and it will go into the trench bowl, which is right here. The threads for it are right here. I did substitute out the red. I used Ruby Slipper. I forget what the called for thread was, but I don't remember if when I was collecting threads for it, and I don't know if the red was sold out and I couldn't find it anywhere. But then I remember going into my stash, and I have them organized by color, and I just went and pulled a red that I thought matched what the called for was, but I do not remember what the called for was. Used brick, Classic Colorworks used brick. Anyway, I couldn't find it anywhere, and I just decided to go with Ruby Slipper. It's one of my favorite reds. I had fun stitching it, so I can't wait to get it fully finished. Hopefully I'll have that to show you the next time that we meet, and it will go in the trench bowl, which I have a couple other things that will also be going into the trench bowl that I've been working on. So I have one last thing to show. I don't have a cover picture for it. It is a PDF download that I purchased, and I just opted to print the symbol page and then the chart. But I will go and I will insert a picture, and I will put it somewhere right here. But I was watching Daisy K's Primitive Christie, and she does design her own PDF charts, and she sells them in her Etsy shop. And I don't remember if she showed it in her last video or if she showed it on Instagram, because I don't remember when I purchased it. The days just really get very jumbled together. And even though it's been 4 weeks since I've done a video, it doesn't feel like it's been 4 weeks. It only feels like it's been a week. So the days get kind of mixed up together. And I don't remember if I bought this before Brian went in the hospital or if I bought it when. It was whenever, I don't remember. All I know is I bought it. I bought it from her Etsy shop, and it's called Old Glory. And here it is here. So I stitched on a piece of 36 count dill by Picture This Plus, and I stitched it with the called for DMC threads. And I absolutely love how it turned out. I love the colors. I love it. It was so much fun. I think I worked on it for 3 mornings, and it was so much fun, you know, it was a lot of fun. I stitched it 1/2 on 36 count, and I loved working on the dill so much. I tried to go see if I could get a piece of it somewhere, and I don't know if maybe it's been discontinued or I couldn't find it for sale anywhere where it had been for sale recently. But this was just such a great, like, primitive color, and so hopefully maybe in the future, if it's not discontinued, maybe I can get a piece of it for sale somewhere, or if it's not, maybe they'll come out with something pretty close to it. But I love this particular piece of fabric, linen. So this is another little small that will be in the trench bowl, hopefully next time I do a video. But I absolutely loved working on that. It was just, the directions are very, very easy to read, and I'll put a link to Christie's Etsy shop. She also has a couple of other charts in there for sale as well. But I really enjoyed it. I love it. It's just so perfectly prim. It was a lot of fun. So now that I finished that today, I have to find another morning stitch, and I'm not sure yet what it'll be. I might work on, I have some bindings that I need to stitch down, so I might work on that before I start another new morning project. But that is all of the cross stitching I have to show. However, before I go into the quilting part, I do want to show Freddie, because I haven't shown him in a while. So I thought before I started talking about quilts, I would grab Freddie, because I know it's been a while since I have shown him in a video, and I've had a lot of people ask how Freddie is doing. And so I thought I would show him. He just had a bath yesterday because he was dirty. He decided to go and play in the dirt because my dad did till, and so the dirt is very soft and he likes to play in it and eat it. But Freddie's birthday is tomorrow. And I can't believe that he's already a year old, and I can't believe that he's been with our family since July. But I absolutely adore him. He is my little baby. I just love him, even though he's going to be ornery right now. He was sleeping. I woke him up, so now he's going to be ornery. But I thought I would show him, and I do show him on Instagram and Facebook from time to time when he allows me to take a picture of him. But I adore him, and I sometimes think about how he ended up coming up into our lives and just how things work out sometimes. And I think the universe knew that I needed little Freddie, but he is my constant companion. I absolutely adore him. And even though he's the family dog, he's really my dog. So I know it's been a while since I have shown Freddie. I think the last couple of videos I forgot. I do try to insert pictures of him, especially usually when I'm done filming the video, I've realized that I've completely forgotten to show him. So I try to like go and take a picture of him and insert it in the video because I know a lot of you guys like to see him. He's so cute. But anyway, so as far as all the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to talk about in this video. As always, I will be back in 2 weeks. And hopefully I will have more progress to show you, and maybe some finishes, because I have some previous finishes that I also need to get fully finished. So I'm hoping to have those to show you next time, but it just kind of depends on how much time I get. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the quilt blocks that I have been working on. So if that's not something you're interested in seeing or hearing about, this is a great stopping off point. And of course, I'll be back in 2 weeks. And until then, have a great stitchy time, and I'll see you soon. Otherwise, stay tuned and I'll show you what I have been working on quilting wise. So I thought before I show you the quilt blocks that I've been working on, I will share a little bit of happy mail that I received. I was contacted by Lisa right after my last video, and she told me that she had a book that she would like to send me that she thought I might like. And so she sent me this beautiful card. And this book came all the way from Australia on the fastest shipping that I have ever known anything to come overseas. I think originally she said it was going to take 5 weeks to get to me, and it took 2 weeks, which was amazing considering like everything going on with the mail and how slow packages are to arrive, if they arrive at all. And so the fact that this one just flew right to me was just, it was amazing. So she sent me this book. This is Civil War Women by Barbara Brackman. And I have been enjoying flipping through this book. I've been pacing myself. So instead of, flipping through the whole entire book in one day while I'm, eating lunch or breakfast, I will go and read just a little section at a time. And I'm really enjoying it. Barbara Brackman, she just has a way of researching. If she comes across a quilt, she'll go in and research and try to find the woman that made the quilt or the family it came from. And she's just a fountain of information about the women who created the quilts during the American Civil War. And just, she has an amazing blog. And I will put a link to Barbara's blog, because if you're interested in Civil War quilts or Civil War reproduction or anything like that, Barbara Brackman is just a fountain of information. And so I'm really enjoying flipping through this book. It was so sweet of Lisa to send it my way, and I've just really, really been enjoying it. So thank you so much. And then this book I pre-ordered. Some of you quilters might be familiar with JJ Stitches, I think that is the name of the website. If I'm wrong, I will scroll it down below, but I feel like that's the right name. And I should know it because I'm always window shopping the kits that they always have for sale. But they put out a new book. So they did a year-long series a while back of red quilts. And I think it was once a month they would release a quilt kit, and the quilt just had red in it somewhere. And then they decided to go ahead and put them all together in a book. And this book is amazing, and I want to make every single quilt that is in the book. And so this one has been a lot of fun to flip through. And I mean, look at this one. Isn't that amazing? I love this one. Love it. I don't know that I'm necessarily going to be able to make any of them this year, but who knows? I might just get a wild hair and just decide to whip one out one day. And when this one came in the mail, I took it in to show my husband. So we were flipping through it while he was in the hospital. I guess I should cover this up. But that's a quilt there that I would love to make. Love it. But it's chocked full. I believe there are 12 quilts in here. They're not, you know, huge quilts. They're easily ones that you could do like in a month. But there's not one quilt in here that I don't love. And so hopefully at some point I will be able to make them all, because I just want them all. I know for once in a while you can see certain ones that are for sale. They'll have kits for sale. And there was one that I saw, maybe it was this one here. I think it might have been this one here, that I did see that they had it for sale, the kit. I don't know if it's still for sale. That was back when I first got the book, but I know for a little while they did. And then this one I've seen for sale on their website, and I love this one. Love it. So somewhere down the road, hopefully I'll be able to make some quilts out of that book, but it's well worth every penny, because there's not one quilt in that book that I would not make, honestly. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to show are the red sampler quilt blocks that I have finished. And I was trying to remember which ones that I had finished prior. So 4 weeks ago, I was trying to remember what I had done, and I can't remember. So I'm going to show you all the blocks that I have finished to date. I am almost caught up. I just have 2 blocks from this week to finish. So the red sampler quilt is being hosted by Lori Holt of Bee in My Bonnet. It started 5 weeks ago, I think, 6 weeks ago. And it's supposed to run until the end of July, and it's a red and white quilt, and all of the quilt blocks are from her various books that she put out. So Farm Girl Vintage, Farm Girl Vintage 2, Vintage Christmas, Great Granny Squared, and then what's the other book? Is it just those 4? I think the Spelling Bee book, but the Spelling Bee is supposed to be at the very, very end. It has something to do with the label you're going to make. So what happened is when Brian went to the hospital, I had quite a bit, you know, like instead of having, you know, a spouse where you could share the duties with, I suddenly had all of the duties to do, all of the household duties and everything kind of fell on my shoulders. So pretty much everything came to a standstill. I mean, I wasn't cross-stitching, and I wasn't quilting. I wasn't making project bags. I wasn't quilting for clients. I just didn't have time to do any of that. And then when he did come home from the hospital, towards that first week of him being home, I found that I had these tiny little pockets of time where for like a half hour, I could go and I could look and see what the blocks were that Lori had come out. And that was the only thing I worked on, was just that red and white, the red sampler quilt. That was it. I didn't work on anything else. And so I would look to see what blocks had been released. And then I would go and I would pull fabrics and I would just cut the blocks out. And a lot of times I only had a half an hour. Sometimes I had an hour. So once I got the blocks for that particular week cut out, then I would go ahead and assemble them. So I do not know what I showed 4 weeks ago. So I'm just going to show you what I have done to date. And I'm hoping that by the end of the weekend, I will have the other 2 blocks that were released this week done, so that way I'm completely caught up. And then when Monday comes around and she shows the next 3 blocks, then I'll be like, I'm ready to go. So this is one of the blocks that she released this week. So this is the only one of the 3 that I got done for this week. And I have this one. And I was going to put them all, I have the design boards. I had made a bunch of them, and I forgot to grab them. So I'm just going to show them to you like this. So these are all done out of Civil War reproduction fabrics, and I love it. And I love how you can take any Civil War fabric and it just plays well with any other Civil War fabric. And there's this one. I really like this one. I like how busy it is. I just love it. And I like this one too. And this one. This one took me 2 days. Not 2 full days. I mean, like I worked on, it took me a couple of days to make this block. And this one. And I have to be honest and tell you that even though there's part of me that wishes maybe I would have waited to work on them because some of the blocks are not perfect, but I figured that if it's across the room and you're like way on the other side of the room, and if you can't see all my mistakes, that's great. And then there's this one too. So those are all of the 6-inch blocks that I have finished. And this block here is one that I don't know, there's a part of me that wants to remake it, and the other part of me just wants to leave it. And that is this one. So this one is definitely not perfect. And I love this block too, and I was really trying to be so careful, and I kept messing up on it. I don't know why. And I know that one is like really, at first I thought, oh, I don't know about those colors. Is there enough contrast? But then when I got it done, I really, really liked it. I like it. I like it for some reason. And then this one was out of the Great Granny Square, which I love. Love this one. And that one is also not perfect. And there's this one, which is very, very busy. And I love it, love it. And another one that no matter how hard I tried, there's the pinwheel's a little bit wonky. But it's okay. Like I said, if you can't see it from way back here, we're good. And then there is this one. And this one, which I'm pretty positive I might have shown this one last time. So those are all of the red sampler quilt blocks that I have gotten done. And I'm just so happy I was able to catch up. All of the other things I have fallen behind on, but that's okay. I will eventually catch up. It's all good. It's all good. I think it hasn't quite been since the beginning of the year, but sometime January, February, I think it was, Temecula came out with their mini Mondays. And on the second Monday of the month, they have a mini Monday sewing bee. And so these were April's. I have not done May's blocks yet, but I have the directions printed out, and it's on my, I guess it would be a cookbook stand, and I have the directions there, so they're always staring at me. And once I get the red sampler blocks for this week finished, then I'm gonna go and do those blocks. So here are the bow ties. And every month you make 4 of them. And they're very fun to make. I love this one so much. And then this was actually pieces left over from one of the blocks that I finished. It was just laying there, and I needed to I needed to pull the fabrics and I needed to cut them out, and it was just laying there. It was exactly what I needed, the leftover scrap, so I just went with it. So I still need to finish the May one, and that one was broken dishes, I think. And I'll put a link to their blog, and if you go and look under the Mini Mondays, I don't know if it's a tag necessarily, but on the second Monday of the month is when they release the blocks for the Mini Monday Sewing Bee, and it's free, and it's a lot of fun. I also I finished month 6 of the Temecula quilt album, and this is what the 6th month blocks look like, and it makes it very handy to keep them in this binder. So this is what they look like, and I finished I got them all cut out, and then I would just pull them and work on them as I had time. So let me grab them, make sure I have them. Yes, okay. So they had you make this block here, which I love it. I love the polka dots and I love the cheddar. It's so delicious. I love it. And I had a lot of fun making this one. This one took me a couple of nights to put together because, again, I would work on it like 15 minutes here, half hour there. And then I worked on this one. This one went a little bit quicker. And you see a lot of this particular quilt block in signature quilts because people will sign it right in here. So I love it. And then this block here, which I'm guessing these two blocks are just filler blocks. And I think that was the, nope, I'm missing one. This one was the other one. I loved putting this one together. I just love those crisp points. This was the only the block with the crisp points that I didn't mess up. So I love it. Well, guys, that is all I have to show progress-wise for this video. My plans are going to be to continue working on the red sampler quilt because I want to stay, I don't want to fall behind on that one again. Because that way at the end of July when it's all done, I can go ahead and assemble it and put it together and it's good to go. I'm going to, I haven't shown them, but I fell 2 months behind on the Forevermore block of the month, so I need to work on those. The 5th month is on its way to me, so I definitely need to catch up with that. And then of course, if I have time, then I will work on the 7th month of the Temecula album quilt. So I think it's just going to be a lot of making blocks. The flag quilt that I showed in my last video is still waiting to be quilted, and my quilt machine is buried. Because when my husband first came home from the hospital, he had a walker, so I had to make sure that anything that was in his path was moved. So it got put on my quilting table, so that is where it is at. And so I need to go unbury it because I do have client quilts that I need to work on, and then I have a couple of my own. So my hope is maybe I will get some time to go out and work on those. But if you have stuck around for until the end, thank you so much. I do appreciate it so much. And as you can see, Freddie's right there. I thought maybe if I angled my camera a certain way, you would be able to see him from time to time. If you would like to see what I am up to in between my videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, or I do have a Facebook page, and that is Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, or you can email me and I will put all of the information in the description box on how you can get a hold of me. I do have some questions that were sent to me via email. And I'm so sorry I have not had a chance to respond to them yet. I promise I will get to them very, very soon. I just want to make sure that I am thinking about the question before I answer it, because a lot of it was like information. So I promise I will answer your questions just as soon as I can. And thank you for being so patient. Otherwise, I will see you in 2 weeks. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful stitchy couple of weeks. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.